whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, this was unexpected. I talked yesterday about the injury report, and we would get to our very first one today. We'd look at both teams, and it would be interesting to see how guys that were banged up last week going into the contest would fare over the weekend and heading into practice this week, and who was practicing and what was their amount of practice, limited, out, or full participant. And we got a surprise today that Terry McLaurin showed up on the injury report. Now, I'm not going to read too much into it. Jack Del Rio, who was sitting in and filling in for Ron Rivera, who did not feel well today, even though he was at practice, said, look, I'm not going to really get into injuries. That's not my thing. The injury report is what it is. You guys can see it. They've already told you what it is. I'm really not going to elaborate further on it. So Terry practicing on a limited basis doesn't necessarily scare me at this point, but it is interesting and something just to keep an eye on. Guys don't necessarily just miss parts of practice just because. Okay, there's usually a reasoning behind that. Now, they've talked about his thigh being the reason that he was listed as limited today. It's just something to keep an eye on, because if you take Terry McLaurin away from this offense, we've got nothing, okay? Look, I talked about how if Terry's there and you got your number one, you can start figuring out other ways to get other guys involved. We've got enough of them, okay, to spread the wealth around and take and alleviate a little bit of the pressure off of Terry McLaurin. But if you take 17 out of this offense, we're in big trouble. And the offense already isn't good yet, okay? So taking the best thing that we have away from us offensively isn't something we can afford to have happen right now, especially with Steven Sims still being hampered by the toe, which you would like to think is our second best option at the receiver position in particular. So not something you should be quite alarmed by. However, it is Thursday, and he was limited. I think tomorrow will be another sign as to how serious and severe this is, because we're not getting a real answer from the coaching staff. I think this is something that we just need to keep our eyes on. What does Terry do at practice tomorrow? Is he a full participant tomorrow? I feel a lot more comfortable if I find out that Terry McLaurin was a full go at practice on Friday. If you tell me he's limited again on Friday, I'm a little nervous. Look, I don't think we're going to win this football game, okay? You don't have to wait till Friday to get my prediction. The only thing you have to wait till on Friday is to find out how badly I think we're going to get beat. That's the only thing you need to concern yourself with on Friday. Not whether, does Louie T think we're going to pull this one out? No, I don't. I can tell you that right now. But it gets even harder if there is no 17 on the football field. It becomes damn near impossible if 17 isn't on the football field. So that's something to look at. We're going to talk about injuries here in a second when we get to in other news. But that was the thing that jumped out at me today. You know, I listened to Jack Del Rio speak in place of Ron Rivera. I listened to Scott Turner, the offensive coordinator, speak. But this was the thing that jumped off the screen at me. Not anything that was said by those coaches, respectively, but seeing Terry McLaurin show up on the injury report was a bit of a red flag for me. I'm not going to panic. I'm not sounding the alarm, but it is something that we do need to monitor rather closely as we head into week number 4. Hopefully it's something that does not linger, because our bye week isn't until week 9 or 10. So it's going to be a while before some of these guys get to mend. Hopefully Terry McLaurin's thigh injury is something rather minor. So let's move on to in other news. And I just told you guys that we heard from both the offensive and defensive coordinators. Again, Del Rio, we heard from him on Wednesday. This time he was more in a head coach's role. So not as many defensive questions lobbed at him, more so about Del Rio's ability to function in the role that he's been put in, and, you know, what's the status of head coach Ron Rivera. So not a lot from Jack Del Rio in this particular presser, unlike yesterday where he was a little bit more forthcoming about last week's game and the upcoming game versus the Ravens. But I think more of the focal point in today's pressers was put on Scott Turner. They had not spoken to him since the Week 3 loss to Cleveland. A lot of questions were asked about Dwayne and his progression and things that you've seen? And is this guy showing you some things that you like? What are some of the things you don't like? Those type of questions were lobbed at Scott Turner. I thought he handled it really well. I really like Scott Turner. I've told you this already. So before we get to what he said at the podium today, let's take a look at the injury situation for both teams heading in to week number 4's contest, Ravens at Washington. So according to the presser that was put out by the team, you hear it right before Jack Del Rio steps to the podium. So all of these things are pretty accurate. But as you can see, did not practice Steven Sims with the toe injury and Chase Young with the groin. Now, I'm very encouraged by Chase Young's groin injury. He was out there running around, okay? He also was dragging the sled with weights on it. These are all great signs for a guy dealing with a groin injury, and he rode the bike today. That's all he did. The fact that he's even out there and he's doing something lets you know he's not that far off. Okay, he's not playing this week, though. We've already established that. He will not play this week. And I'd actually take it a step further. I'd be shocked if he played next week either. But we'll see what happens. Now, as far as Steven Sims, that's a little bit concerning. It's Thursday and he's not practicing. He wasn't even out on the field, okay, yesterday or today. He wasn't on the side field. He wasn't riding a bike. He wasn't even out there, okay? So I'm really nervous about Steven Sims this week. If there's ever a week to take off, it'd be this week because you have 0 chance of winning this game. Now, I shouldn't say 0. You have a 1% chance of winning this football game. Anything's possible. But I didn't like the way he looked last week. I thought he was favoring his toe last week. So I don't think he should have played last week. And if he's not going to be a big part of the offense, which he wasn't last week, and I think they really needed to see what Isaiah Wright would do when put out on the field. And I think because Isaiah Wright handled what they gave him so well last week, I think they feel more confident he can come out and fill that Steven Sims role all the way. And I think to maximum capacity, meaning on special teams as well. I think we won't see Steven Sims this week. In order for that toe to really heal, he needs time. He can't be out there going half speed, trying to give it a go. It's only going to make it worse. That's why I think you haven't seen him. Remember, he was a limited participant last week. He was going through the positional drills, but he didn't practice fully. He's not even doing that this week. He's not even out there this week. So I think you're going to see Steven Sims be out in week number 4. Chase Young as well. As you get to the limited participants, it's good to see Cole Holcomb be limited. Remember, for the last 2 weeks, this man hasn't even been practicing at all, at times not even out there. So the fact that he's limited and working off on the side field and doing some positional drills is great news. That means he's close to getting back. That doesn't mean he's going to play this week and be active, but it does mean he's getting close. We already talked about Terry McLaurin and his thigh, so don't really need to go into greater detail there. But the full participants, this is good news that Dontrell Inman was a full participant. After seeing his hand last week and the way he was favoring it and how they were holding it after getting injured, I was scared that he might be done for the season or out for the next half of the season. So the fact that he's going to probably play this week, that's great news for an offense that can ill afford to lose any of their weapons. Ryan Anderson, look, we're getting thin at defensive end. Even though I don't think he's an impact player, still want as many bodies out there as possible. Good to see him healthy after he had a little bit of an injury late in the game last week. Kerrigan was a full go. What do you expect? I told you this guy's an Iron Man. Don't expect him to miss any time. And Sadiq Charles was full, which was a bit of a pleasant surprise. Thought he would be more of a limited participant after not playing last week and hardly even practicing last week. So for him to be a full participant is good news there as well. As you get to the Ravens side of things, they've got a ton of guys on this injury report, and I don't even know what to make of this because a lot of these guys that you see here are impact players. Anthony Levine Sr. is a defensive back. He did not practice today. Ronnie Stanley is the one that jumps out at me like a sore thumb. That's their starting left tackle. He did not participate with a shoulder injury. That's one to watch. Even though we don't have Chase Young to take advantage of it, we still have Montez Sweat. I already told you I think they're going to double team him this week, but it sure would be nice to have both of those guys out there, especially if Ronnie Stanley doesn't play. It could be a repeat of week 1 when the Eagles did not have Lane Johnson. We'll see. Ronnie Stanley's a big part of their offensive line. If he can't go, that could be a big boost for Washington going into the game. We need all the help that we can get in week number 4. Trust me. Brandon Williams is their nose tackle. He's their big, beefy, run-stopping defensive tackle. So he did not practice, but it was non-injury related. So that tells me that he's going to be just fine and he'll be ready to go come Sunday. Derek Wolfe did not participate. He's got an elbow injury. He was a big offseason acquisition from Denver, and that's a guy that they like up front. So if he doesn't play, again, that'll be a bit of a help on the defensive side of the football, or offensive side, I should say, for us. Limited are all the following players: L.J. Fort, linebacker; Justin Matabuke, who's their rookie out of Texas A&M as a defensive tackle; wide receiver Chris Moore; and Jimmy Smith. Of those four guys that were limited participants, Jimmy Smith is the one that is the biggest contributor on this football team. All the rest of those guys, while they do use L.J. Fort quite a bit, Jimmy Smith is the guy that is going to be the biggest impact to the football team if he can't go. So that's another guy to watch, as he was limited. And then Justice Hill, they don't use him at all. They've got 87,000 backs, all of them good. So if he's not able to go, not going to really help us much, because he's not probably going to be active anyhow. So that's your injury report for today. As we get back to these coaches stepping up to the presser and talking. And I want to talk about Scott Turner. I really want to focus on Scott Turner because, like I said, not much was gained from Jack Del Rio speaking 2 days in a row. Scott Turner pretty much talked about Dwayne's performance in week 3. Said, look, the biggest thing that we stress. Let me start with this. I thought this was interesting. Because I bitched about this during the film breakdown. I said, they've got to start tucking that undershirt in. This is the second time we've seen one of our guys get drugged down by their undershirt. And Dwayne's drag down was a big one. It was a 3rd and 5, and he's escaping a pocket. If he doesn't have that tail hanging out there for Myles Garrett to grab onto, that's a first down. That's a big play in the game. You keep that drive alive, who's to say what that turns into? So Scott Turner pretty much said, look, we've addressed this with the players. We addressed it the first time, but we were a lot more stronger with our language this time around. I think we're going to see these guys tucking that undershirt in. And I don't know why the hell they think it's a good idea, if they think it's cool or whatever the case may be, to have it hanging out for what? Anything that gives the defense an advantage, you want to take that away. So, if you've got a lot of hair, like Derrick Henry, I always love the fact that he takes his dreads and he ties it into this thick knot. If they want to grab it, they only got one dread that they're going to grab. Like, don't have 8 million dreads hanging out of your helmet and they can just yank one of those and you're going to fall back. Don't have a shirt. You can tuck it in your pants. Don't have your shirt hanging out. So he addressed that. So I just wanted to talk about that first. But in terms of Dwayne, he said, look, the biggest thing with Dwayne is that, a lot of people want to harp on the interceptions. I told Dwayne, you're going to throw more interceptions. Like, don't be afraid to throw interceptions, which is the right message to have. You don't want this guy back here scared to take chances, okay? But he says, hey, but be careful and take care of the football, but don't be afraid to take chances. Opportunities are there. He said the biggest thing, though, outside of the interceptions, and even more so than the interceptions, is that when there are opportunities available, we can't miss. That's what I've been screaming to you guys this entire time. Like, you guys want to harp on staring down receivers and interceptions and turnovers. I'm harping on the accuracy because we're missing opportunities. I told you that Scott Turner is dialing up some really good plays. And the thing that I'm a little annoyed with is he's missing throws, easy throws at that a lot of times. And then he's missing opportunities, guys running open, matchups that he should be working, those types of things. We're like, hey, guy, why are you making this a lot more hard on yourself and difficult? Why are you working this matchup when you've got a premier matchup backside with Terry McLaurin? Like, for me, and when you look around the league, the elite quarterbacks, especially when there isn't much around them, they're going to go to their guy. Even Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams will have 15 targets in a game. He did in week 1. He had 14 catches. Kyler Murray with DeAndre Hopkins, he had 16 targets for 14 catches in week 1. It's okay to force the ball to your guy if he's got a premier look. And I don't think Dwayne understands that right now. I think he's trying to go through the play and he's trying to do it the right way. To hell with all of that. If you got one-on-one with your guy backside and the play calls for you to work front side, I'm scrapping all of that. If I trust my guy one-on-one backside, go to Terry. And so I think sometimes he's too analytical in his mind. He's trying to do everything the right way, the way that they're coaching it up. And that's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, they just want results. Okay, you get a grade for two things in the NFL. You know, Chris Cooley told us this a bunch of times. You get a grade for the outcome of the play, and you get a grade for the way that you do it, your execution. They teach you a certain way to do it. Okay, so if you don't do it the way they teach you, you get a grade for that, and then you get a grade for the outcome of the play. The play might be an A. Your execution might be an F. But guess what? They much rather you have an A play than to have A execution and an F play. Okay, like that doesn't make any sense. So I just want Dwayne, and when opportunities are in front of him, I just want him to hit them. And that's essentially what Scott Turner was saying. Look, we like some of the things that Dwayne did in this game. I did too. But, you know, the cons outweigh the pros right now when you're missing opportunities, when you're missing some throws, when you're not seeing some things, and then you compound matters by then turning the football over. Again, if you can eliminate the turnovers, I think a lot of people can live with some of the misses. I'm a little bit more concerned about the misses than I am the interceptions, because I don't think Dwayne is a turnover machine. You know, some of you guys start throwing out random, Rex Grossman. He's not Rex Grossman. He's not going to throw 3 interceptions every game, okay? I don't think that's who he is. I don't think that's in his DNA. So I'm not worried about the turnovers as much as I am, hey, dude, just don't miss the easy throws. Don't miss these opportunities. I talk about all the time, especially on the film, how in the NFL, if a guy's got a step and a half, that's open in this league. You got to hit that. And Scott Turner said, look, you don't get these opportunities very often in this league. The window is is short, it's small. You got to hit these opportunities when they come available. And he said, look, you did some good things. You know, we got the touchdown drive early in the game. It's the first time we've scored a touchdown in the first quarter of this season. He said the 2 touchdown throws were great, you know, but at the end of the day, he's got to, and this was something else that he was really big on in this game. He's got to learn how to be more consistent. And that's like the third time we've heard Scott Turner and the word consistency when regarding Dwayne Haskins. And he said, look, he's got to start stacking good plays on top of each other. You know, good play, good decision, good decision, good decision, good play. And as you continue to do that, you look up at the end of the game, you're going to have more points than the opposition if the defense does their job and you continue to do yours. You know, that's the way that they look at this. You just do what you're supposed to do. You do your job. You do it well, and let the chips fall where they may. And just continue to stack those good decisions and plays on top of each other. You know, minus the bad plays. And that's the problem right now, is that we're not stacking enough good plays on top of each other on either side of the football, for that matter. And so I thought it was some good stuff from Scott Turner. At the end of the day, I'm in full support of Dwayne Haskins. I know a lot of you are ready to give up on him. I am not, and I won't be this season. I don't care if he throws 10 interceptions over the next 3 weeks. I need to see him for 16 weeks. So I know that he's not the guy. I don't want to ever go back and say, man, did we miss something? Did he not get enough time? He's got 10 starts now in the league. 10, okay? I keep bringing up Josh Allen because to me, that's the closest comp. No, he's not the same athlete. You guys like to nitpick at certain things. No, he's not the same athlete as Josh Allen. No, he's not. But guess what? Similar body type, big arm, just like Josh Allen, and the same issues that plagued Allen coming in are the same things we're talking about with Dwayne. Inaccuracy, turnovers, things of that nature. And he's not even close to the turnover machine that Josh Allen was when he came into the league. Their completion percentage is really similar. I showed you the tweet. I had it on social media maneuvers yesterday. You've seen the numbers. They're very comparable through their first 10 starts. All right. At the end of the day, he needs more time. Period. End of discussion. So let's get to behind enemy lines. So we took our first look yesterday when we were talking about the Ravens and heading into this ball game. And it's good to be back home. I said that last week. I think this is a game that it's going to be tough. That's an understatement. Okay, I'm saying I'm putting it as mildly as I can. It's going to be tough, but if we want to have a chance, let's start with the defensive side of football, because again, I talk about this every week. If we're going to be in the ball game, more likely than not, it's going to be because of our defense, not because of our offense. Like, we're not getting into a shootout with another team 38-35. That's not where we are in our maturation process right now. So if we're going to have a chance to win, it's because the defense is holding the other team down and giving us a chance. So if we're going to have a chance against Baltimore, it starts with the defense. And I think the biggest thing that you look at is, can we stop or at least slow down the Ravens rushing attack? And I think you take it a step further and say, can we slow down Lamar Jackson? I think that's where it starts. Same thing we said in week 2 versus Kyler Murray. Can we stop Kyler Murray from using his legs to hurt us? I think the answer is no. I don't think we can slow down Lamar Jackson. And we'll get into that more tomorrow. I'm just going to lay out the keys to the game for you. We'll get into specifics as to whether I think we can or can't do it and why tomorrow. But we need to stop the run game. That's where the Ravens really wear teams down and beat them up. Like every week you look up, sans for Monday against the Chiefs, because for some reason they thought they were going to out-throw the Chiefs, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. They didn't run it enough against the Chiefs. And you got to credit the Chiefs for being able to slow down. But I thought they should have run Lamar Jackson more. But that's nor here nor there. He's going to run it this week. He didn't have enough rushing attempts, I didn't think, last week. He's going to run it this week. And I think they're going to absolutely smoke us. But the ground game is pivotal. They're a team that rushes for over 200 yards on a weekly basis. Okay? We were good in the first half against the run. We were absolutely putrid against the run in the second half versus Cleveland. And if we don't clean that up, they are going to gut us on the ground. It was tough to watch at times last week. Hopefully they can be better this week. But you got to stop the run. You have to tackle better. I don't think our tackling has been anywhere near where it needs to be for us to be successful. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, Landon Collins. We've got to tackle better. I'm talking to you, Troy Apke. We've got to be better. Okay, your safeties can't be missing tackles left and right. Your linebackers have to be more responsive. And we can't just be relying on the defensive line to bail us out. These guys have to play better and they have to tackle. I'm talking to you, Jimmy Moreland. Guys have to tackle better. Period. End of discussion. You want to have a chance against this Ravens football team, you're going to have to tackle. Their tight end, Mark Andrews, is a stud. If we're going to allow another 100-yard game to the tight end, it's going to be a long afternoon. Okay, they've got weapons everywhere. Speaking of weapons everywhere, they've got guys that can get vertical, like Hollywood Brown. Okay, like the Notre Dame wide receiver that they drafted, Miles Boykins, last year. These guys can run. And if you fall asleep behind the wheel, they'll get vertical. They've got this guy named Devin Duvernay that they drafted out of Texas this year. He's a track athlete. He ran the first kickback for a touchdown in the NFL this season, in case you didn't watch on Monday. He can fly, flat out fly. So if you thought Andy Isabella last week was a problem that he got by, or 2 weeks ago that he got behind us, think again. This guy is 2 times faster than Andy Isabella. I shouldn't say that because Andy Isabella is a track star himself and was a track star in Ohio. So at the end of the day, this is another one of those 4-2 guys and Devin Duvernay who can flat out run. Hollywood Brown is a 4-3 guy. He can flat out run. There is speed everywhere. It's not just Lamar Jackson. They got J.K. Dobbins that can run a little bit at the running back position. They got Mark Ingram who can run at the running back position. They've got speed everywhere. And if we aren't minding our P's and Q's, Y's and Z's, this could get ugly really quick, like first quarter ugly really quick. We've seen it this year. It could happen again. So to me, those are some keys right there defensively. You got to hold on in the run game. You got to have a way to at least slow them down, make them work for what they get. Can't give up explosive plays. I thought we did a better job of that last week. There weren't many big explosive chunk plays for the Browns. They just methodically matriculated the football down the field. And part of the reason was we didn't tackle well enough. We missed too many tackles on Chubb and Hunt. We got, like I said, already talked about tackling. Got to be better there as well. Can't give up the explosive plays. This Ravens offense can strike at any time, whether it's Lamar Jackson or any of those receivers or their tight end, as I mentioned. They've got guys that can hurt you in a flash. We've got to be able to limit the big plays and make them earn everything that they get. As you move to the offensive side of the football, we've got to be able to sustain offense. I think we've proven already we're not a big play offense. We haven't had a big 40-play chunk play all season long. I don't think that's us. So we've got to sustain offense. And same thing applies from last week. Start fast. Okay, can't fall down 17-0 in this game and think you're going to come back against the Ravens. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to come back against most teams, let alone a team that's way better than you. It's imperative that Dwayne get off to a quick start, that they get him into a rhythm. I think it's imperative that they run the football a little bit more. Take a little bit of the pressure off of Dwayne. Get him a little bit more comfortable. I think we have to run a little bit more effective in the first half of this game. I thought we really put a lot of the onus on Dwayne's shoulders throwing the football last week, and not enough opportunities for the running backs. I think we need to see a little bit more balance with this offense in terms of running the football. That being said, when opportunities present themselves, you got to hit them. You got to take them, and we can't miss. And that includes Dustin Hopkins. We get a field goal attempt, you got to hit it. You got a chance to make an extra point, you got to make it. Like, we're not good enough to have mistakes on either side of the football. Speaking of mistakes, got to take care of the football. I don't like bringing that up because that's like unspoken. That's something that I shouldn't have to say. But after the last 2 weeks where we've had back-breaking turnovers, it needs to be said. You have to take care of the football in the special teams game, on the offensive side of the football. We have to take care of the football. If we don't, we won't even have a chance. It won't even be close. If you want to keep this game respectable, if you don't want this thing to be 37-7 at the end of the third quarter, then take care of the football. Make the Ravens earn it. Like, they're not the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not. They proved it on Monday. But they're right there at the next tier. And so if you make mistakes, they will blow you out. Okay, they're a really good team. So if we don't help them, if we force them to drive 85 yards and they're able to do it, you tip your cap and say, you got us. But the 28-yard drives, the 38-yard drives, those are killers. When they start in Washington territory, those will get you beat fast. It has the last 2 weeks. So the turnovers are a big issue. That's something we can't have, whether it's special teams or on the offensive side of the football. I'll talk more about a couple more items that I think we need to have success in and at to have a chance in this game tomorrow when I give you my final prediction for the game. But that's behind enemy lines for today, just to wet your palate a little bit. We'll get into a little bit more tomorrow, and then I'll give you my prediction. So I thank you guys for joining me on the program tonight. As always, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and like this video. Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Go ahead and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. If you're not on Patreon, what are you waiting on? Get on Patreon so you don't miss these film breakdowns. I think I'm going to do something for the Ravens this week. I'll have a little bit of extra time. So I think I'll do a little something for the Ravens this weekend to give you a little bit of a sneak peek at what we need to be expecting come Sunday and what we need to do to try to help ourselves have a chance to win. With that being said, I'm going to glide to the side. I thank you guys for joining me. I'm your man, Louie T, and this has been Washington Football Nightly. I'll see you guys next time.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35.